Hello gang, I am Qumaden. You can just call me John, or Q, whatever you like to call me. A lot of you, if you're watching this video, you probably know me and have met me. If not, love to meet you, love having you as part of the PIN community. But the purpose of this video is to talk about my submission for the PAX West 2017 Pinny Pals Panel. Now, we've talked about in the past, we've seen a lot of talks about PIN values, both perceived and monetary. We've talked about PIN history. We've talked about the community a lot, which to me is the important part. We want to talk about the community. But what I kind of want to expand on is a bit more kind of out there topic. I want to talk about mental health. Probably not something a lot of you want to come to panels to talk about or hear about, but my purpose is to tell you why these little random pieces of metal can affect your happiness. Now, I'm not just talking about the instant gratification that you get when you've completed that trade for that gold Overwatch pin that you've been after for 3 years now, 2 years? 2 years now, or you've finally got, you were able to get that limited edition pin on the first day and now your collection is complete in your head, or that completionist buzz of, okay, I'm safe now, I have them all again for now. I'm talking about your overall happiness as a human being, not just those small little bits of happiness. I'm talking about overall long-term mental health. Now, that's going to tie in with a lot of different things that I hope are going to end up being a part of this panel. I don't know what we're going to talk about on the panel yet because we haven't made selections, which is why I'm doing this video. But I get the feeling that a lot of things we're going to talk about are going to be similar. We're going to talk about the concepts of value, both, again, monetary and personal. So I can tie this in very well into personal value. We're going to talk about community in at least some regard. And I know that this particular topic blends very well with the community because the community is what helps us. No one who's watching this video is likely a first timer to PAX or new to pins. The potential split for audience members who are new, generally about 50-50, sometimes more on the favor of new people than old. So I want to showcase both our community in the positive light, not only of, oh, we got to get together and have dinner, or we camped out for our limited issue pins, or we had breakfast together, stuff like that. I want to talk about how the community can focus its energies on us being happy. I know everyone here has gone through some level of post-PAX depression. Everyone deals with it differently. Everyone has different ways it affects them. Some people it raises their anxiety level. It triggers their anxiety. It makes them miserable. Some people it triggers their depression. It makes them even more depressed than they could have possibly been normally in their normal kind of trough state. Some people don't have any kind of clinical depression, bipolar, anxiety, anything like that. They've never been diagnosed with anything like that and never had any symptoms. But then when PAX ends, here they are. They feel like what their friends may say when they're depressed, or what the commercials for antidepressants tell them is depression. It's because it is. It's just a short-lived version of it. And mitigating that is a huge, both part of the PAX experience and a huge benefit of our community. So the big thing is going to be slides. I feel like that's going to be the biggest weakness for my particular section. It's a lot of talking. What I want to focus on are things like Venn diagram, kind of showing the whole of PAX being here, the pin collectors being here, people who are actually part of the pin community here, and then like a little tiny micro dot of completionists there and things like that. That'll be one portion. I have some documentation, some psychological studies that I'll kind of distill down to graphics and potentially some small charts that kind of demonstrate the way the brain reacts to these kind of stimuli. The reaction that you get to obtaining a pin, may take you to this brief high here, and then you'll kind of drop off a little bit because you've become accustomed to it. You become accustomed to having this cool thing. But how it maintains across your mental health is what's key. I am not a mental health professional. I do work in the medical field. I work mostly in cardiology. But when I was in the military, I did work with, I worked as a combat medic, I worked as a cardiovascular specialist, and I worked as a mental health specialist. So I've kind of got a bit of a broad spectrum of insight onto the truly medical effects of depression, of anxiety, of a lot of these diseases that I know for a fact that a good portion of us have in some varying degrees. So I'm actually really excited. I hope you can tell to actually talk about this and actually bring it out, because a lot of people are afraid to talk about it. But if they see someone, when someone else says it, it makes it a lot easier for a lot of people to come out and kind of have that conversation. And this community has done great things for my own personal mental health. It's made my life overall better. Yes, these are simply pieces of metal, but because of these pieces of metal, my life is improved. And not just during PAX, not just because I have collectible thingies, but because of the people I've met, because of the connections I've made, and because it has overall increased my PAX experience and made it better. If it wasn't for pins, I probably still wouldn't be doing PAX. I could keep talking like this for forever and just rambling on and on and on, but I'm going to go ahead and cut it off here. That just kind of shows you some broad strokes of how I want to do this presentation and how I want to integrate it into part of the panel. It will obviously be condensed into a small 5 to 10 minute section once I get the ideas kind of outlined better and really kind of hammered down to see how well I can integrate it into other people's once we decide on who all is going to be part of this panel and what topics we're going to cover. So once I get that distilled down, I can work with the other members of the panel, if I'm chosen, to integrate that well and make it a seamless transition and make this truly a professional level presentation, because that's what we want. We want to put our best foot forward. We want to show everything the community has to offer, all of our resources, all the great things, and all the cool stuff about pins. So I hope that after watching this video that you think that this topic deserves to be part of the panel. If you do, thank you very much. If you don't, I totally understand. You want to see something else, and that's how you make your happiness, and I'm all for it. Again, I'm Qumaden, Q, John, whatever you like to call me. See you at PAX.